Thought it was the right decision. I hate that it had to come to this.
Patrick Mahomes just got dragged into the most embarrassing situation of his career, and it was his own father who made it happen. Apparently, Pat Mahomes Sr. opened his mouth in court and set off a chain of events nobody saw coming. So, what exactly went down? Let's break it down. The name that keeps ending up in court. Patrick Mahomes is the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, 2 Super Bowl rings, multiple MVP awards, a contract that reset the market for what NFL quarterbacks get paid, the most commercially valuable name in American sports right now. That name moves product, it fills restaurants, and in 2025, Mahomes and Travis Kelce put it on the door of a steakhouse. The restaurant is called 1587 Prime, named by combining Mahomes' jersey number 15 and Kelce's jersey number 87. It opened in Kansas City in September 2025. They had applied for trademark protection on the name as far back as December 2023, launched a merchandise and apparel line under the same branding, and by all accounts, the restaurant was thriving. Then, a New York-based sneaker company called 1587 Sneakers Inc. filed a trademark infringement lawsuit on February 17, 2026.
Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes got sued over their steakhouse name.
The lawsuit claimed they had been selling products under the 1587 name since April 2023, before the restaurant ever opened, and that scores of consumers were now contacting them thinking they were affiliated with the Mahomes-Kelce Steakhouse.
And then, a sneaker company called 1587 Sneakers sued them for trademark infringement. They claim they started selling shoes under the 1587 name back in April 2023, which is before the restaurant opened.
The sneaker company's strongest argument is not about the restaurant itself, it is about the merchandise line, because clothing puts the two brands in direct category overlap. On March 2, 2026, a federal judge denied the sneaker company's emergency restraining order request, citing the company's delay in seeking relief, jurisdiction questions, and improper service. The restaurant stays open. The case is still active, but the Mahomes name and courtrooms have a history that stretches far beyond a steakhouse dispute, a history that did not involve Patrick at all, and one that did not start in 2026. Pat Mahomes Sr. is a former Major League Baseball pitcher. He played professionally for over 2 decades. The major leagues, the minors, Japan, independent ball. He is also the father of the most talked about quarterback in the NFL. And long before his son became the face of the league, he had already been building a record with law enforcement in Smith County, Texas, that was going to become impossible to ignore. At least 6 DWI-related arrests in Smith County dating back to 2012. A DWI arrest in South Dakota in 2008 that predated all of them. A 2016 public intoxication charge during a college football game between TCU and Texas Tech. In 2018, another Smith County DWI arrest. He pleaded guilty and served 40 days in county jail on weekends, starting February 2019 and finishing February 2020, each offense stacking on top of the last. And under Texas law, the math on repeat DWI offenses only moves in one direction. A third offense or more is not a misdemeanor. It is a third-degree felony, carrying up to 10 years in prison. What makes this record particularly striking is the context in which it was built. Pat Mahomes Sr. was not an anonymous figure spiraling quietly out of public view. He was a former professional athlete, a recognizable name in Smith County, and, as his son's NFL career accelerated, an increasingly visible presence in the national sports conversation. He attended Chiefs games, he gave interviews, he was part of the Mahomes brand whether he chose to be or not, and yet the arrests kept coming in the same county for the same offense year after year. That threshold arrived on February 3, 2024, when officers pulled over Pat Mahomes Sr. on Gentry Parkway in Tyler, Texas. An open can of beer was sitting in the center console of his vehicle. He submitted to a blood draw. His blood alcohol content came back at 0.23, nearly 3 times the legal limit. Third offense, third-degree felony. And the arrest happened just days before his son was set to compete in Super Bowl LV8 on February 11, 2024. The dashcam footage from that stop captured everything, including what Pat Mahomes Sr. said in the back of that patrol car. That statement was the moment this stopped being a local DWI case and became a national story.
My son is getting ready to play in the f***ing Super Bowl, okay?
Yes,
No, just listen to me. I am not drunk. I promise you.
Okay.
I've had some drinks. But he can't have this right now.
He knew what was coming. He knew what the headlines would say, and so he kept talking.
And then now this gonna be on the news, which is gonna with him, and it's probably Him up, he probably won't win the Super Bowl, but that's fine.
The officer's body cam footage added another layer to the story. During the field sobriety tests on the side of Gentry Parkway, Pat Mahomes Sr. explained to the officer that his right knee was damaged from his baseball career, which affected his ability to perform one of the balance tests. He also mentioned, almost in passing, that his son had gifted him the car he was driving, and that the expired registration on the vehicle was because the transfer paperwork had not yet been processed. Two details that, taken together, painted a picture of a man whose life was deeply entangled with his son's success, even in the moments that were actively threatening to unravel it. Patrick won Super Bowl LV8 anyway, but that footage went everywhere, and what came next in the courtroom would shape the next 2 years of the Mahomes family's relationship with the legal system. The guilty plea, the probation, and the device on his ankle. The case against Pat Mahomes Sr. moved through the 7th District Court of Smith County, Texas, under Judge Kerry Russell. Months of proceedings followed the February 2024 arrest. By the time of his guilty plea, he had reportedly been sober for approximately 6 months. On August 27, 2024, he entered that guilty plea to the felony DWI charge as part of a negotiated agreement with the Smith County District Attorney's Office. No trial, no drawn-out fight. He accepted the conviction and moved to sentencing. The sentencing hearing took place on September 23, 2024. Judge Kerry Russell, rather than sending him to prison, accepted the plea deal and sentenced him to 5 years of probation with 1 full year of intense supervision. The conditions were specific and strict: mandatory community service, substance abuse evaluation and treatment, Alcoholics Anonymous attendance, a complete prohibition on any alcohol use or possession, and continuous alcohol monitoring through a Scram ankle device. He also served a short 10-day jail stint as part of the initial penalty, fulfilled in October 2024, after which he transitioned fully to community supervision. After sentencing, Pat Mahomes Sr. spoke directly about what the experience meant.
So today we went through your sentencing. Tell me how you feel about the outcome.
Well, I think it was appropriate. That's what we agreed to. Well, it's bad. I mean, that was kind of an eye-opener, once this happened. Since then, everything is... I haven't had a drink since.
He spoke about wanting to take what happened and turn it into something useful.
Now I get a chance to, go out and speak and do some public speaking and kind of tell people about some of the issues and troubles I've had with alcohol, and hopefully it will enlighten somebody else to take these measures and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Patrick Mahomes had his own version of measured public response: careful, minimal, and consistent every time he was asked.
Yeah, he's doing good. Don't really want to get into it too much, but he's doing good for whatever the situation is.
The sentencing outcome, probation over prison, reflected a calculated decision by the court to prioritize rehabilitation over incarceration for a repeat offender who had shown some evidence of genuine effort toward sobriety. The 6 months of documented sobriety leading up to the guilty plea, combined with Pat Mahomes Sr.'s willingness to accept the conviction without a trial, gave the judge enough to work with. Texas courts handling repeat DWI offenders are not known for leniency, which made the probation outcome a meaningful concession, one that came with the clear understanding that a single violation would put the prison sentence back on the table. The Scram device, secure continuous remote alcohol monitor, works by testing for alcohol through the skin. It sits on the ankle, reads continuously, and transmits data to probation officials. It does not require a breathalyzer or blood draw. For someone on probation with a strict no alcohol condition, a single positive reading from that device is not a minor administrative flag. Under Texas probation enforcement, it is probable cause. For 17 months after sentencing, the device registered nothing. Pat Mahomes Sr. attended his AA meetings. He completed his community service hours. He checked in with his probation officer on schedule. He spoke publicly about sobriety and accountability. By every visible marker, the probation was holding. He also spoke in an interview after sentencing about wanting to attend his son's football games, something that had been a consistent part of his life throughout Patrick's NFL career. The probation conditions placed restrictions on travel and activity that made game attendance uncertain. His attorney had reportedly been working to get those conditions modified to allow him to continue showing up at Arrowhead. It was a small detail in the broader legal picture, but it captured something real about the dynamic. A father whose most public role had become watching his son play, now fighting to keep even that.
It's kind of a tradition, I normally go to all the football games, and I know he enjoys me being there.
Then came New Year's Day 2026. On January 1st, 2026, the Scram ankle monitor registered a transdermal alcohol concentration reading indicating the presence of alcohol in Pat Mahomes Sr.'s system. One detailed account specified a TACI level of 0.045%. One reading, one holiday. That was enough to set everything back into motion. Probation officials were notified on January 5th, 2026. In response, Pat Mahomes Sr. provided urine samples on January 5th and again on January 9th. Both came back negative for alcohol in laboratory analysis. Two clean tests pointing directly against what the ankle monitor had flagged. But under Texas probation enforcement, the initial monitor alert alone was sufficient to obtain a warrant. The machine said what it said. On February 3rd, 2026, at approximately 8:53 a.m., Pat Mahomes Sr. arrived for his scheduled check-in with his probation officer in Smith County. He walked through the door for a routine meeting. He was taken into custody without incident. He was immediately booked into the Smith County Jail and held without bond pending a formal revocation hearing. No bail, no release. Smith County District Attorney Jacob Putman publicly confirmed that Mahomes had allegedly drank alcohol on New Year's Day, a direct breach of his probation terms. If the state succeeded in revoking his probation, Pat Mahomes Sr. was looking at up to 10 years in prison. He would stay in that cell from February 3rd until his court date in March, more than a month behind bars, while the legal process determined whether he was going back to prison or back to the street. The hearing, the hair follicle test, and the outcome. The probation revocation hearing took place on Monday, March 9th, 2026, in the 7th District Court of Smith County, Texas, before Judge Kerry Russell in Tyler. Pat Mahomes Sr. had been in custody since February 3rd, more than a month in a Smith County jail cell. He appeared in the courtroom in an orange prison jumpsuit, escorted in handcuffs. The state had filed a motion to revoke his 5-year probation sentence. A successful revocation meant up to 10 years in prison. It did not succeed. The turning point was a hair follicle test. The test returned completely clean, showing no detectable alcohol in his system during the period in question. Combined with the 2 negative urine samples from January, the evidence stack against the state's revocation case had grown too substantial to push through. Defense attorney Joe Murphy emphasized to the court that the results fully supported the position that no alcohol had been consumed. Mahomes Sr. did not admit to drinking during the proceedings. The district attorney's office confirmed the withdrawal of the revocation motion. The state stepped back. Judge Russell moved to a modified probation order. She extended the probation by 2 additional years, bringing the total term to 7 years from the original sentencing date. He was ordered to complete a mandatory 16-week outpatient substance abuse treatment program. The judge imposed a 30-day jail sentence, but because he had already been detained since early February, he received full credit for time served. He walked out of that courtroom on March 9, 2026, free, but under tighter supervision than before. The case exposed something worth understanding about how Scram technology interacts with the legal system. A transdermal alcohol reading from an ankle monitor can be triggered by things other than drinking. Certain lotions, hand sanitizers, fermented foods, and environmental alcohol exposure have all been documented as potential sources of false positives in published research. Defense teams in similar cases have pointed to this limitation for years. In Pat Mahomes Sr.'s case, the hair follicle test, which measures alcohol metabolites deposited in the hair shaft over a period of weeks and months, proved to be the definitive counter-evidence that the urine tests alone could not fully provide. Outside the jail, Pat Mahomes Sr. gave a brief statement. His position had not changed from the moment he was arrested. The machine was wrong, and the tests proved it.
Yeah, I thought it was the right decision. I hate that it had to come to this. Like I said, I got the Scram monitor on my ankle, and it went off. But I guess it's a machine. Everything makes mistakes. So, like I said, once again, I know I haven't had a drink in over 2 years.
What the outcome also revealed was the weight that corroborating forensic evidence carries in Texas probation courts. The Scram alert opened the door for prosecution, but it was not enough to close it because the defense came armed with 2 negative urine tests and a clean hair follicle result. The state's decision to withdraw the revocation motion, rather than press forward to a formal hearing, was a quiet acknowledgement that the evidence taken as a whole did not support a finding of violation. The judge's response response, extending the probation rather than terminating it, struck a middle path that kept Pat Mahomes Sr. under supervision without sending him to prison over what may have been a faulty machine reading. He avoided prison, but the cost was real. 7 years of probation, mandatory treatment, the Scram device still locked to his ankle, and a legal chapter that consumed the better part of 2 years of the Mahomes family's public life. Patrick Mahomes, for his part, handled each public moment around his father's legal troubles the same way he handles pressure on the field, briefly, controlled, without giving anything away.
I mean, at the end of the day, I come here to play football and try to take care of my family at the same time.
But Pat Mahomes Sr. was not the only family member generating headlines. While the father's legal saga was playing out in Smith County, the younger brother had already been through his own arrest, his own courtroom, and his own very public collapse, one that started years earlier and carried an entirely different set of charges. Jackson Mahomes, from TikTok to felony charges. Jackson Mahomes built his public profile the way a lot of young people do in the social media era, through content, through presence, through being visible at every moment his famous brother was in the spotlight. He was at the games, he was on the sidelines, he was making TikToks, and for a period of time, that visibility generated attention that had nothing flattering attached to it. On September 19th, 2021, during a Sunday night football game between the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, video captured Jackson Mahomes dumping water over the heads of Ravens fans from an elevated position in the stands. The clip spread rapidly. Patrick later addressed it publicly, saying there was more to it than the video showed. Then weeks later, during a Chiefs game at FedEx Field, Jackson recorded a TikTok video in which he performed a dance on or near the large 21 logo painted on the sideline, a memorial tribute to the late Washington safety Sean Taylor, whose number was being retired that day. The clip went viral immediately. He issued a public apology, stating he meant absolutely no disrespect to Sean Taylor or his family. The apology was noted. The pattern was not forgotten. The Sean Taylor incident in particular landed hard because of who Sean Taylor was and what that ceremony meant. Taylor was killed in a home invasion in 2007 at the age of 24, one of the most tragic deaths in NFL history. The retirement of his number at FedEx Field was a solemn, carefully organized tribute attended by his family, former teammates, and thousands of fans who remembered exactly where they were when they heard the news. Jackson Mahomes dancing on that logo, on camera, posted to social media, was not just a lapse in judgment. It was the kind of moment that defined public perception of him for years afterward, long before any legal trouble arrived. These were the early chapters of something that commentators had already started documenting, a consistent inability to read the room, an energy that found ways to overshadow the wrong thing at the wrong time. But none of it was criminal. None of it came with charges. That changed on February 25th, 2023, at Aspen's Restaurant and Lounge in Overland Park, Kansas. Jackson Mahomes was at the restaurant with a group of friends. The owner, Aspen Vaughn, knew him socially because he was friends with her stepdaughter. According to the probable cause affidavit, Jackson grabbed her by the throat, forced her head back, and kissed her without consent, reportedly 3 times, while putting his tongue in her mouth. Vaughn reported visible marks on her neck. She stated the advances came completely out of nowhere. In a separate incident the same night, he allegedly pushed a 19-year-old male waiter more than once when the waiter attempted to enter the office area to retrieve his water bottle. The reaction when the story broke was immediate.
He has officially been arrested and charged for sexually aggravated battery. This is the owner of a bar. Here, I'll give it to you.
Whoa.
Owner of a bar, which is actually his friend's stepmother. It's his friend's stepmother.
That's him, right?
Yep. Tall dude. He's tall. Tall
His
fellow.
friend's stepmother?
On May 3rd, 2023, Jackson Mahomes was arrested. He faced 3 felony counts of aggravated sexual battery related to the alleged non-consensual kissing and throat grabbing of Aspen Vaughn, and 1 misdemeanor count of battery related to pushing the waiter. He was booked into the Johnson County Detention Center on a $100,000 bond, posted bond the same day, and pleaded not guilty to all charges. The felony charges carried the potential for significant prison time and sex offender registration. Aspen Vaughn spoke publicly in August 2023, detailing the personal and professional toll, including harassment and threats that she and her business received after the charges became public. The restaurant itself later closed in 2024, partly linked to the controversy. Patrick Mahomes, when asked about his brother's arrest, gave the same kind of answer he gave when asked about his father.
Honestly, it's kind of the personal thing that I just kind of gonna keep to myself.
The felony charges were serious. The evidence included surveillance footage and the victim's initial statements. But the trajectory of the case was about to change, dramatically. And the reason it changed had everything to do with what the victim did next. The dismissals, the plea, and the cost of the Mahomes name. On January 3, 2024, the 3 felony aggravated sexual battery charges against Jackson Mahomes were dismissed. The reason? Aspen Vaughn refused to cooperate further with prosecutors and reportedly indicated the encounter had been consensual and that she had not been fully truthful in her initial statements to police. The most serious charges, the ones that could have sent Jackson Mahomes to prison and placed him on a sex offender registry, were gone. What remained was the single misdemeanor battery charge related to pushing the waiter. A hearing was held on March 7, 2024. Jackson Mahomes appeared via video conference and entered a no-contest plea to the misdemeanor battery charge. Not an admission of guilt, but an acceptance of the conviction for sentencing purposes. The judge sentenced him to 6 months of unsupervised probation and 120 days in jail, with the jail sentence fully suspended, meaning he served no time behind bars as long as he complied with probation terms. No contact with Aspen Vaughn. Completion of alcohol and drug treatment programs. As of late March 2026, no further violations have been reported. No felony conviction, no jail time, no sex offender registration. The case closed without the catastrophic outcome that the original charges threatened. But the damage to the Mahomes family name and to Aspen Vaughn's business had already been done long before a verdict was reached. The legal mechanism that collapsed the felony case, victim non-cooperation, is one of the most common and most debated dynamics in sexual battery prosecutions. When a victim recants or refuses to testify, prosecutors lose their most essential witness in a case where physical evidence is limited and the defense can argue consent. Surveillance video existed in this case, but video of a kissing incident without audio is not the same as video of a violent assault. It creates ambiguity that defense attorneys are trained to exploit. Jackson Mahomes' legal team understood this, and the outcome ultimately reflected it. The broader picture of what it costs to carry the Mahomes name extends beyond courtrooms. Randy Mahomes, Patrick's mother, raised both Patrick and Jackson largely on her own after she and Pat Mahomes Sr. finalized their divorce in 2006, when Patrick was approximately 11 years old and Jackson was around 6. She has spoken openly about juggling 2 jobs to support her sons, working all day, coming home for an hour, getting the boys situated, then going back to work until midnight, 1, 2, or 3 in the morning.
For all these years of being a single mom, and it's just being me and my kids, whether celebrating Christmas, opening Santa gifts together. I'd work all day and come home for about an hour and get the boys situated, and then I'd go back until midnight or 1 or 2 or 3.
Wow.
She has also spoken about what she wishes she had done differently.
The one thing I do say that I wished I wouldn't have done is worked as much as I did.
Well, and you missed a lot.
I
You
missed
said, yeah,
so,
you weren't necessarily the mom that got to be in the bleachers for every game.
The family's losses during this period extended further still. Patrick's maternal grandfather, Larry Randy Martin, passed away on February 12, 2025, at the age of 78, just days after the Chiefs' loss in Super Bowl LAX on February 9, 2025. He had entered hospice care on or around January 24, 2025, after being hospitalized in September 2024. Randy Mahomes shared the news publicly on Instagram on February 14, 2025, writing that she was holding her father's hand as he went to heaven. Through all of it, the lawsuits, the arrests, the guilty pleas, the probation hearings, the family losses, Patrick Mahomes has remained the same in public, measured, focused, present on the field. The family issues have generated headlines, but no professional repercussions for the Chiefs quarterback have been documented, and no team or league sanctions related to family conduct have been reported. What the ESPN documentary series The Kingdom captured, and what commentators who watched it noted, was the human weight underneath all of it. The reality that when one person in a family becomes the most famous athlete in the country, the spotlight does not stay on just them.
And I think it said a lot about how family is connected, and one issue for one person kind of leaks into everybody else's life. It also highlights the human factor of players. We pay attention to Patrick Mahomes, his feats, his accolades as a player, but he's a human.
The Mahomes name is worth hundreds of millions of dollars in endorsements, contracts, and commercial value. It is also the name on the arrest report of a father who spent a month in a Smith County jail over a New Year's Day reading from an ankle monitor. It is the name attached to a brother whose felony charges dissolved when a victim changed her story. It is the name a mother rebuilt her life around after a divorce, working through the night so her sons could have what she didn't. Patrick Mahomes did not put his name in any of those places, but it ended up there anyway. And every time it does, he gives the same answer.
Obviously, I'm on a bigger stage, but at the same time, it's your family, but you have to come in here and do a job, and that's what I try to do every day.
That is the price of being Patrick Mahomes, and it is a price he did not choose to pay. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.